Mitch, I'm recording this, so whenever you are ready, friend, take us away.
Let's get right into that journey into mystery. And this week we have a special guest, Alex. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Yeah, glad to be here.
Now I'm sure that Ian's following on Twitch know you much better than I do, but this is the first time we've actually met. So
Yeah,
uh,
it's crazy because like I've heard about you tangentially for probably a couple years now.
same.
I was gonna say, I think this is something that kind of goes both directions. Where I'll be talking with Malfoy, and I'm like, yeah. So I was talking to Mitch the other day, and then we'll be podcasting. And I'll be like, so my buddy Malfoy has this movie opinion that I don't agree with.
Yeah, I got a
Well,
lot of those.
yeah, I hope you have a lot of opinions about Guardians of the Galaxy because that's the show that we're talking about today, or movie that we're talking about today. It's our 10th installment, but I believe the 11th movie in the MCU, or maybe 12th. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's I
I've
think
kind
it's
of
the
lost.
11th because we lumped First Avenger and the Avengers into one.
That's true. So this would be the 11th movie.
Yeah.
First opinions going into this movie when you first saw it. Like, who was super excited about this movie?
I was
Yeah.
really excited.
Okay. What was it that hit you? I mean, were you very familiar with these characters? Because I'll say, even as an avid comic book reader, I did not know these characters at all. Like these Guardians of the Galaxy's characters. And I even remember like they aren't the exact same Guardian of the Galaxy characters. Like it's a different lineup that was in the comic book at the time, and then they, things got changed up and moved around and stuff like that. So, what was it for you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was at this time like watching videos of like who these new people are because I literally had never heard of them before. I saw Chris Pratt got casted, and I was like, oh, I know who that is. And then Zoe Saldana, and I'm like, okay, well, she's got a pedigree, right? She's from Avatar. She'll probably be good. But I was mainly putting a lot of pressure on it to see if Disney could do Star Wars because I think they had announced right around this time that they were coming out with the next one. And trying to see if they could do space opera in whatever capacity that they wanted to with Marvel money. And yeah, I think it delivered. It was probably I liked it less this time than I did when I watched it in the theaters.
Okay.
But I think when I did see it, I mean, I had it as my number one for a while.
I think that's common with a lot of people. I think Guardians of the Galaxy on the list of MCU movies definitely lands up there at number one for a lot of people. And I would have to say, to me, it's not my number one, but it lands close to the top because of the soundtrack. Now, I'm not a music person per se, but like this genre of music or this era of music is definitely my sweet spot. So the soundtrack James Gunn creates for this movie and how it's integral into the actual movie, it just really sold me on this movie.
And I don't think you have to be like a music buff or anything to just enjoy the soundtrack of this movie specifically. Like if you go listen to like the Pirates soundtrack, right? Like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like you need to have a little bit if you want to get like precise about certain things. Like I really liked it because it does this, this, and this, and but this is just like I like that song. Like and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that was a really good choice to make it that much more accessible to a group of people who have no idea who these characters are.
Yeah, I mean, if you think that the avid comic book reader like myself doesn't know who these characters are, movie going people aren't going to know who these characters are. Like,
Absolutely.
so having that strong 70s nostalgic soundtrack coming in there is going to sell a lot of people, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Then you throw in the fact that it's got a talking raccoon and a walking tree.
Right. Honestly, Rocket is something that sold me on it.
He's the heart of the movie for me.
Absolutely.
I think he's the heart of the movie.
So
Like-
then, Ian, going into this movie, the first time you watched it, was it all about Rocket after seeing that trailer?
The first time you see it, I'm like, oh dang, okay. Like the CG on him looks great. You've got I'm spacing on names. Is it
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. I almost said Anderson Cooper.
Bradley Cooper doing a very odd like accent, like New Yorker accent.
It's like East Coast, but not. But it totally is. It's like East Space Coast.
I mean, everywhere's got an east, right?
right?
Well, and then he's also like mispronouncing words pretty selectively too.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Or
it's in
just
a weird like
using them completely wrong at times, where it's like, no, this is how this word works. And I enjoyed it. After you see him the first time, that's when I was like, okay, y'all came to play with this team that nobody's ever really heard of. Like, you have your cult following on this team, but like, y'all came to play if you're trying to sell them. And then you see Chris Pratt for the first time as Star Lord, and I'm like, yo, my boy Andy grew up. Here we go.
Well, I would have to say it's definitely no mistake that in the trailer for the movie, they show the
yeah.
delousing scene, of
Oh yeah.
Chris Pratt, who has now got this 8-pack abs, and getting hosed down in the prison. Like they didn't make a mistake in throwing that right into the trailer. And this
Oh
is
no.
it's Andy Dwyer who, for most of those seasons, is very schlubby and just very funny. But
But I
now,
also feel like if Star Lord was still fat like Andy, it wouldn't. I don't think it would hurt him.
I don't
Like I
think
feel
so
like it
either.
would be fine.
no, he'd still have the same attitude and he'd still be just as campy and fun. But I guess this is the idea of like, well, we need to get the girlfriends or, whoever to come into the movie when the guys want to go see it kind of thing. Like that's the old way of thinking of making movies.
I mean, I'm just here for that transformation because dude transformed for it.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't just for this. He also made Zero Dark 30 right before this, and he says that's what he
I
got into shape
always
for.
forget that Zero Dark 30 was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
forget
was,
about that movie too.
yeah. Yeah. I came out of that thinking Call of Duty paperwork. Like that's all that movie was. Really.
Call of Duty paperwork. How'd you
Uh,
feel about it, Mitch? Your first
you know,
impressions going in.
yeah, my first impressions were like, I am stoked. I'm stoked for this because I don't know anything about it. Like, I literally have no baggage coming in because, like, as much as I love Iron Man and the Captain America movies, is like I have history with those characters. And if they decide to stray, I will pull that fanboy card and be like, well, they made that change. But for this, I have no stance. I have no like, well, that could be how Star Lord acts in the comic books. I wouldn't know, but I was here for it. Like it's really fun.
It was
it's
really
crazy because
refreshing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I remember there being like I want to say a year before this movie came out, people were saying, "Oh, it's nothing. This is a risk. Disney is like completely taking a shot in the dark on this. Like this is either a go big or go home moment." And I was thinking like they have nothing to lose. Like
Yeah,
if they cast somebody wrong for Spider-Man, like that movie could be great, but if you don't get the right guy for Spider-Man, it's good, nobody's gonna go see it, right? Like everything has all this, like you said, baggage. This had nothing, and they get to just go make a movie they know is gonna work, and then it worked.
yeah, yeah.
Like
And
no strings attached. It was great.
then once it comes out, it's one of the most fan favorite of the MCU at that point. Like people were it spawned new comic books. The title comes back. It spawns a cartoon, a Disney or XD cartoon. You get all these new versions of these characters, and they just are now part of pop culture. Like you can go to Target and buy a blanket with Groot and Rocket on it for your
Yeah.
kid or yourself, like whatever you want to do.
My favorite ride at Disneyland. Gone now. Guardians of the Galaxy. It's no longer Twilight Tower of Terror.
Yo, I was gonna say, were you a big Tower of Terror fan?
Fucking, I love that ride, dude. It was my favorite. And then they changed it. And I'm like, okay, it's probably good. Like I trust them to make it a good ride. Like nobody was going on Tower of Terror really. And I'm sure it's great. But I was so salty about it because I'm like, dude, really? My favorite ride you had to?
See,
I mean, yeah.
I
The-
never
the
rode Tower of Terror because I hate the feeling of falling,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point of that ride. So it's like, I'm out. You're not gonna
Yeah.
catch me.
I think you
I
haven't
get you.
done an Outbreak then,
Nope.
or Breakout.
Yeah, not today, Satan.
What about you, Alex? Have you done Mission Breakout?
I haven't been to California Adventure. I don't even know how long. It's been a while.
Oh,
But
okay.
I mean, if I did go back, I mean, I would go on it. I would want to know just to see for comparison's sake.
Well, after the pandemic is over, whenever the hell that is, Ricky and I are planning a trip for like as soon as things are safe. So
Yeah.
We should do that in like 10 years when all this is over.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2035, you have that fun adventure.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
When Amazon sells full hazmat suits for $25, that's when we get to go to Disneyland.
Yo, bet do that now. I'd buy one anyway, just to say I have one. Are you kidding?
I mean, it's not a bad idea.
No, but I mean like when it's like super cheap and
Oh
it's
yeah,
not like a cost.
yeah. Someone's
Yes,
gonna make that material super cheap and cost effective. It's gonna happen.
right.
So
Oh
When you
man,
guys saw this movie for the first time, did you cry within that opening scene? Or did you get like emotional during the opening scene?
I did, and I thought it was like a. All right, Disney. I see you have to kill the parents, but like, damn, you got to do it like this.
straight up Bambi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like so like shocking for me that, and I was like choked up, and then I got angry. I'm like, why would you do that to me so fast? Like, why would this be the first thing that you showed it to me? I
no,
think it's effective and great, but I remember that being like, come on, man, really?
Was what's funny thing is I just had this conversation in another podcast was that the dying stuff like family members and friends and partners and stuff like that dying doesn't get me to that point anymore, but it's friendships like that really do. I'll get teary-eyed at that. So at the end of this movie, when they're all, becoming a team and becoming a unit and then unfortunately Groot, dies because he's protecting all of them, that's when I get teary-eyed. Not
yo,
not the beginning part. Like, don't get me wrong, the emotion was there at the beginning. I'm like, "Oh man, they're really setting up this character." Like the setup is here. Like I can feel it, but I didn't get teary-eyed.
like
Yeah.
if so, we are Groot is an amazing moment, and I'm
Yep.
I'm right there with you. That hit me, and I was like, I'm getting teary in a superhero movie. Uh, but I think at the beginning you could have had the same effect in setting up the character if you took Star Lord's whole like I'm dancing to go get the artifact thing
True.
and you swapped it with the abduction. So you do that, so it's like, oh haha, he's just this happy go lucky like space outlaw, and then he gets busted and then you go to the abduction as like a little bit of backstory. I don't know if that would affect the flow super hard, but I don't see a problem. Or
Mm.
like, I don't know.
It could be. I mean, I see that. It it would be an interesting take, but I
It's
think you have to trust that James Gunn saw it a certain way,
oh
and he
yeah.
knew how he wanted that story to play out.
And after Guardians and Guardians Volume 2, I don't know any other James Gunn work right off the top of my head.
Oh,
Really?
Like
really?
I'm sure I do, but like off the top of my head I can't. I don't. I don't really pay attention to
He wrote the
directors and
screenplay for Scooby Doo, I believe, the live action Scooby Doo.
Two live action Scooby Doos. That's right.
oh wow.
And
Like
then Slither is the only other thing I know of him.
like
Slither. Yeah.
as far as the technical side of things, so like directing, cinematography, soundscape, all that, I don't really pay attention to. Like
Okay.
I pay attention to who's the cast that's grabbing me, and then I look into the people in the movie that I enjoyed after, so I can keep an eye out for them in other work.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's about what I do with writers or directors too. If like I felt like the movie overall was great, I'll look up the whole team. But if it's like just a performance, then yeah, you just
I will say I did have to look up the writer for Fantastic Four, this last one that happened, so I can avoid their work like the plague.
that's a good one. Good choice.
Who was it?
I don't remember.
Well, just remember that it was Colin Trevorrow was the director. You can avoid his work for the most part.
Calling you out. If you have beef, get at me on Twitter. We can talk about how much your movie sucked.
Well, I would also say that was Fox in there meddling a lot. So we'll just see what happens when Disney gets
It's
their hands on it.
it's the only movie that it's the only movie that I've been to with Malfoy that he actively talked shit in the theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
So
Yeah.
I'm normally like I'm the guy who's like, all right, we're in the theater, nobody's talking until it's over, then we can talk. But this movie, like at the end, I was so mad. And when he was like, this is fantastic, and he's like, say that again, I was like, nope, fuck you. And I got up and I left.
Like it's the only time I've ever
Exactly. The
seen
only
him.
time I was like, I'm over this movie so much.
It's
And
the
the lady behind me got mad, and she had every right to be mad. Like I shouldn't have done that. But she was just like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "All right, lady, the credits are rolling. All right, I earned that. I think we all earned that.
We
I'm
all
gonna
learned
leave. I'm gonna leave now."
you had me interested through the first two acts, and then you shit the bed in Act 3. Come on, movie. You had it right there. You had it.
Oh man,
This is way
Thankfully,
off.
this movie does not have that problem.
it does not.
No, this movie keeps me the entire time, and I have not once been like, really, we're going to say that right now?
You know what? What I remember, one thing I remember about this movie, and not so much about this movie, but tangentially about this movie, when it was coming out, before it had actually come out, there was that meme that was going around, and it was like, basically, it was making fun of DC, where it would be like DC executive says, or Warner Brothers executive says, we cannot seem to crack the idea of a Wonder Woman movie. We can't make that movie. It doesn't make any sense. And then it's Marvel executive says, we got a talking raccoon with a gun and a walking tree. Let's do this. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's all I could. It's just the way that I equate the two different franchises, and how, to me, Marvel is just doing it so much better. Like the Marvel Cinematic
Yeah,
Universe is so much better.
and I think DC could be doing a whole lot better for themselves if they would give us the characters that don't take themselves as seriously.
That's fair. I
Like
mean,
they've done this whole like, oh, it's dark and it's gritty and
yeah,
and then we saw the Flash for like a minute. And
I think it comes down to what that meme at its core is saying is that Marvel is confident in what they want to do, so much so that they can do a story with a tree and a raccoon, and everyone's down. And DC is out here not sure what they want to do. They're trying to copy the tree and the raccoon, and it doesn't come out. It just comes off tone deaf. So I feel like if DC would just ignore everything Marvel's doing, which I get is hard. It's a business. You don't want to ignore success.
yeah,
But if you just ignore everything they're doing and they're like, "Hey, I have this idea. We're gonna make this in a bubble. We're not gonna pay attention to their shit." I would make great movies. Like I feel like they would all be good movies. It's just they're trying to play catch up for whatever reason.
for
Yeah.
whatever. And don't get me wrong, I didn't care for Joker, but obviously a lot of people did, and it blew like the box office. It blew everybody's minds how well that movie did, and that was them doing their own thing with it, right? It's them going completely away from any other formula of any other comic book movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think just the hope from that is they see the success as this is us with a core idea that we stick through from the start to finish.
Yeah.
And everyone appreciated the idea for what it was, instead of we need to make more R-rated dark comedy.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. You don't need to follow the formula of that movie either. Just
Right.
make the idea. Like, you have 70 plus years of comic books to pull from. Like, there's your ideas, and hopefully they just go forward that from that.
all right, so before we get absolutely off topic here, here's my plan to save DC. DC, you can have it. Just you gotta talk to me first, okay? Just give us a movie about the Bat Brood, the whole Bat Brood, all of them.
That's a ambitious movie.
Yeah, but enough of us.
You
Like the
just
people.
want to see Nightwing.
Okay, okay, hold on. I'm getting there because I do.
I'm down for
Because I
Nightwing too,
do.
dude. I'm on board. I'm on
But
board with Nightwing.
enough Batman exists, and Batman is enough of a like mainstream thing now that the Bat family isn't out of the realm of, oh, we know who that is, and if you don't know who that is, you're gonna know, and you're gonna know through the means of, all right, we're gonna take 5 minutes per character and give you a real quick snippet of who they are, kind of thing. And then boom, that's pretty much all you need to know about them, because this is going to be a story that has nothing to do with their origins. It's just going to be a Bat family story. I'd be here for it,
I don't
especially
even think
because
you would
then we
need
get,
to do that much.
yeah, but then we get to see Nightwing smack somebody in the face with his foot, and his foot doesn't even move because he's just that flexible. And I'm like, how do you do that?
But I think that speaks to the point of like you don't need to give a backstory for everybody. Like ultimately, if I know like 5 minutes of backstory for Batwing or another person off to the side, Batwoman, Robin, another Robin, whatever, if I know 5 minutes, that's not like really enough for that to have weight anyway. Why not just have more fighting like John Wick?
I mean,
Yeah.
fair. You could even boil it down to 30 seconds of everybody where it's like, that's Dick. He's Nightwing now. That's Tim.
Right.
We
And
don't
I
need to
think
talk about him.
that's the
Uh,
point is that you can just say that character Luke what's his name? Batwing. What's his actual name? Luke.
Oh, I don't know.
It's he's
Terry
the son.
McGinnis.
You know, he's the
No,
son
no.
of the guy who runs Wayne Tech. Fox. Luke
Yeah,
Fox.
Luke Fox. There we go.
You know,
Wow.
all you do is say that's Batwing, and then all of a sudden, you know, like audiences that don't know who it is be like, okay, well, he's part of the Bat family. We get it. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need
Yeah.
his backstory. Like it's perfect. Anyways,
We do need a Nightwing backstory movie. Please and thank you.
But
Give me
also, okay, speaking
Nightwing Year
on,
One.
we can tangent back using the same point because
Okay.
we look at Groot, and I think Groot and Rocket are the two most successful characters coming out of this movie in terms of reception.
Yes, Drax
What do
is
we
annoying.
really know? What do we really know about Groot?
You know he says I am Groot, and that's it.
Right, and he's one of the most popular characters of the last 5 years,
No,
and
you're
we know nothing about him.
and everybody cares for like he was proto Baby Yoda, right? Like he
Yeah.
is the idea that everybody just fell in love with him, and then you got Baby Groot, so then everybody just fell in love with that. So it's just it was the simplest thing, and then like you were saying, Rocket, really he's just a foul mouthed raccoon. But then there's the one scene in the prison where you see his back, and you know obviously things were done to him, and now you feel for him, you care, and that's it. That's all that needed to be done.
And then you get the whole scene
the
where
scene
they're
in the movie
drunk.
that like got me.
Like
Yeah.
the
This time
scene
around.
in Nowhere where they're drunk and Drax is gonna kill him, and Rocket's like bet and pulls out a big old gun because that's what he does, and then he goes on his like I didn't ask to be made like thing. And it's like oh homie, like my God, just come here. Let me let me snuggle you, you little rodent bastard.
Yeah. That was the one part on this watch that got me. The first time around, it was the beginning, and then the "We Are Groot." Obviously, like the first time you watch it, devastates you. I was ready for it this time, so it didn't really hit that hard. But yeah, I've just forgot about that bar scene. So when he's like, "I didn't ask to get made," I was like, "Shh, that's heavy for what was not really a really heavy company at the time."
Yeah, especially since like throughout the whole movie, he's this tough guy, right? He's the I don't take gruff from nobody, and you know everybody's got to do it my way. But it's all a mask because he's even like, you called me rodent, she called me thing, like you guys all suck. Like it's like oh yeah, those words hurt. Like it
Yeah.
sucks.
Okay, so since we're back on track now,
Uh-huh.
how do you feel about Ronan as the bad guy in this one?
Well, they pull the classic card of kill the bad guy at the end, right?
And I'm
Kill the
mad about it.
But you know what? It's not the last time you get to see him in the MCU. We just have to go back 20 years to, or 30 years to the 1990s during Captain Marvel, and you get to see him again.
Oh, he's in that movie?
He is. I'm sorry if you hadn't
No,
seen
no, no. You're fine.
it.
I still haven't seen Captain Marvel, so this is going to be my
yeah, I
first time
haven't
watching it
watched
for
it.
the podcast.
I'll get around to it is where I'm at on that. But
Okay.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool because I feel like Lee Pace is a great actor. So it's
Lee
good that
Pace
he
is a
came
great
back.
actor. You're right.
I felt like Ronan was set up to be like the big bad of the movie, but then he just wasn't. He was one of the more like non-threatening bad guys that they've had, even though his plan was to blow up a planet.
Well, it's genocide. He wants to get rid of a whole race of people, right? So
Yeah,
I feel like if this movie didn't have its larger ties to the rest of the MCU and the whole Infinity Saga, like I think Ronan would have come off as a bigger villain. But because of he suddenly becomes a lackey to Thanos, you don't know how to treat that. You're just kind of like, oh well, if there's another guy that's even bigger than him, why do we care so much about this guy?
right. And I don't. So this is me getting on my box about like don't kill your villains because they can come back to play something bigger. In this movie, Ronan stands up to Thanos and he's like, haha, I have your thing. I don't need you anymore. I'll go do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Leave him alive. have Thanos wreck him and actually prove how tough Thanos is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a good move, but it's even Drax in the end of the movie. He's like when Gamora's like, "Hey, you've avenged your wife and daughter. We killed Ronan. They can sleep easy." And he's like, "Well, Ronan was just a pawn. Now I know Thanos was the real evil. I need to kill him." And she's like, "Well, you just stated what the rest of us were thinking. It's
You just undid your movie.
yeah, Ronan isn't a big threat." And
Right.
even though when he's first in the court of Thanos, like he just kills Thanos's minion like nobody's business with a wave of his hammer, and he's obviously formidable, but we don't get that.
Like, he would have been awesome in Thanos's like personal retinue from Infinity War and Endgame.
Oh, his what's it called?
Like
His
his
black.
Yeah, he would have been awesome in that, where you leave him alive, you let him get away, you stop him from committing genocide, and then he just like scampers off into space like, "Oh, you got me," right? And then he shows up again, and now you have the Guardians that are like, "Hold up. Welcome back. All right, we beat you once, dude. We can do it again." And he's like, "Yeah, except this time I got Big Daddy Thanos behind me. So, like, are we
But
really going to do this?"
it's kind of what we get with Nebula though, right? Like she is the secondary villain in this movie behind Ronan. So they let her live throughout the movie. She gets to come back in the second Guardians of the Galaxy and try and kill them again, but in more true to comic book fashion, like she switches sides in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. She and Gamora become a closer unit. They become friends, sisters, what have you. Thus,
Every
in
team needs a
Infinity
Venom.
War and Endgame, she's now on the side of the good guys.
Yeah, because every superhero group needs a Venom.
I
Well, I mean,
guess.
we always need our anti-heroes.
Yeah, we need the one who like plays jump rope with morality, who's like, "Yeah, I'll help you because I don't want to die," but
And is doing the whole thing for redemption. Like they need to redeem all the bad acts they did before. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
Black Widow sets up in Avengers, right? She's like, I have red in my ledger. I'm doing the right thing now.
I'm doing the right thing now by killing more people.
Well, they're the bad guys.
So bringing up Infinity War, I think that's a good example because I think it's the flip of what this movie ends up doing with its villain. Because this movie is very much an origin of where the main cast is all the movie is trying to get us information about. The
Hmm.
plot is to show character development. It's so we grow close to the main 4 or 5.
Right.
So the villain isn't that important in a lot of these movies because he's there to serve as plot progression, not necessarily as this guy is super important, which they even say at the end, like, well, really it's Thanos that we should worry about. Ronan's
Mhm.
really not that big of a deal. But then the part that I have an issue with is really a thing that this movie does a lot is how important death is at any given moment because the movie's telling us that Ronan's not that big of a deal, but also he was trying to blow up an entire planet. It's pretty
Mhm.
big.
Yeah.
But then also every single person in this movie almost dies at some point and then they don't. So it's like all these undercuttings, but then also this is really a big deal, but then also he's not that bad.
Yes, it's quite the yo-yo throughout the whole thing. Like the first time you see Quill when he goes to save Gamora who's floating in space, right? Like the idea that we all have of space is that you can't go out there. If you're a kind of person that needs to breathe, space is not a good place for you, right? So
If you got
Gamora
lungs,
is
space is
dying.
not your bet.
Yeah. Gamora is dying. He jumps out there, takes his helmet off, which apparently has a force field on it, I'm guessing, that allows him to breathe or whatever. Puts it on her and he starts to freeze up. The first time I saw that, I'm like, I almost got angry. I was like, why is he not dead? Like he should be dead instantly. Of
Right.
course, we get that little bit of information at the very end of the movie they used to explain why he was able to hold on to the stone, but to the rest of us is also the reason why he was able to breathe, right?
Because he's
Right.
like a half celestial.
essentially.
Yeah. I did like that was a really cool little Easter egg was at the collector. Like when they're hanging out with him and he's given the story of the Infinity Stones,
Uh-huh.
that you see the Celestials. Like they're the
Yeah.
ones that have them. I was like, if you don't know what you're looking at, it's like, all right, cool space guys.
Yeah.
But I'm
Which is
like,
also cool because now that I didn't piece that together. Like I knew they were Celestials too, but I didn't piece together that that's like
they're
I
the
guess where
Celestials.
Star Lord like came from that as well.
Mhm.
I
This
like did not piece that together. Yeah,
and
that's cool.
since they have shown us the Celestials, this is my quick little like toss into the future. What if our next bad guy is Newell?
I mean, I could see that. I really don't see the next phase going into
Like going back to space?
outer space being like big bad. Like as much as I want to see Galactus, I don't think that's going to be the one that they're going to go with next.
Like it's time to rebuild. It's time to like foster your next generation of Avengers. But I'm gonna be hard pressed to get back to Earth and care. You know what I
Nah,
mean? Like
no,
we
because if you keep getting bigger, eventually you get to a point to where you can't even with Marvel, you can't take it seriously. And I think they have a good thing right now to where even though a lot of it is crazy, wacky fun by most other things standards, it's still serious. Like
yeah.
there's still weight to what people do, and you get upset and you're invested. Um, if they start doing stuff to just get bigger and bigger, then you get the Fast and the Furious situation, and nobody takes those movies seriously. I don't care what you say. You might enjoy them, but you don't take them seriously. And I
I
think that's something that Marvel wants.
I enjoy the hell out of those Fast and Furious movies, but yeah, you don't take them serious. Like
I
there's
haven't
Yeah,
always
seen anything
one thing
past
you can
Furious 3.
correct. You can save the day with Car. Like Car does not save the day all the time
right.
Bet. Watch me jump it over a semi and do a flip.
and catch a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the next probably while, probably 2 phases maybe, keep it small, reset, get us used to like some like lower things, so that way when a huge thing down the line shows up, it's like, oh, this matters again. It's not Thanos and then something just as big as Thanos right away. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and I'm talking about like because we're going into the next full phase here, like the next like full story arc.
Are we though?
We should
Is it
be
ever going to happen again?
like ideally, if stuff can get made,
Fair.
then we're going into the next big story arc, and I don't think you have to do. Oh, excuse me. I don't think you have to do anything crazy to set up like Galactus or Null or any like big cosmic entity that can pose a threat. Phoenix, even. Because you could do Phoenix on Earth. Phoenix is on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
But
Get the Shi'ar to show up and just explain to what the Phoenix is and that they're looking for it, and then all of a sudden now we got Jean Grey, and now you got the whole X family.
yep, boom.
Because they
Now
bought
we have
Fox,
mutants in.
right? Like they
Now
have
we have the
plans for
mutants.
mutants or no?
At the moment, they've said that there's no plans to bring in mutants at any time,
I
but
think they're messing up.
I think Feige is keeping everything close to the vest. He's
Yeah,
really
for sure.
he's gonna be dropping in select mutants here and there.
And you set it up as like the next Infinity Saga where it's like over the course of multiple movies we're getting bits and pieces of trying to figure out who the next bad guy is, and then suddenly they're like, hey, what's up, I'm here. And we do like red and gold Phoenix, so you know it's like a bad situation
Yeah,
because green and yellow shows up and you're like, the X family can take that, but like red and gold shows up and you're like, whoa, we're gonna need all hands on deck here.
that's too funny.
How
Uh,
do the mutants like do they tie in at all with Atlantis?
Like with Namor.
so
Yeah.
in some iterations of the Marvel comic books, Namor is the first mutant. Like he is the first because he is different from the rest of the Atlanteans. Uh, he is considered the first mutant. Other than that, not really.
Okay. Because I know Storm has ties like to Wakanda, right?
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
so that would
And
be a pretty easy one to put in there, right?
yeah, the early 2000s they had Storm and Black Panther married off to each other, but I don't think they would go with that again since they so heavily played into the love interest in Black Panther already with Okoye.
Well, I mean, they don't have to be love interests, right?
Right.
Like just like a means. They already have like a spiritual element to Black Panther already. So
True.
if they wanted to, I mean, obviously, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver. There's some weird.
Like
I don't know how they want to
they're
explain mutants
miracles.
now, but
Yeah, exactly. Going forward, they're not miracles anymore. They're going to be mutants. How did they
And
get their
but
power?
also they came about from experiments from one of the Infinity Stones, and then the Infinity Stones did that seismic whatever event
it
that
was
they
the
were
snap.
talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gamma waves that came off of the snap.
So if they wanted to say mutants are a product of Infinity Stones, it tracks with what they already have established.
And
Ab-
I just want mutants involved, so I'd go, bet, give them to me.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
then
I've never been like the biggest X-Men fan, but I do think as big as that franchise is, there's a lot of great characters that could probably benefit Marvel from using them. But they've all been done plenty of times, so it's kind of hard to like want them so fast.
I think
and
the interesting thing is going to be: do you go X-Men 2000, where most of your X-Men characters are going to be of mid 20s to late 20s, or do you go X-Men First Class, where they're all going to be teenagers, kind of thing? Like going forward, is it going to be these people that were hitting puberty at just the time of the snap, like their X gene got turned on because of the snap, or is it going to be, well, everybody who had an X gene and then the snap like supercharged it so that everybody who has an X gene now has powers,
I like that one. I
so that
like
you have adults. You could have Professor X.
you can have Professor X, you can have Magneto, you can have the older mutants. And if you really wanted to, bonus points Marvel, if you make Bishop Wakandan.
Like from the future Wakandan.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
like Bishop walks back. Bishop sets up our bad guy for this next one where he has to come back and he's like, "Hey, y'all need to get ready." And he doesn't say why. He just keeps showing up places because
So
he
he
can
pulls a
travel time.
Flash from Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like infinitely cooler because it's gonna be written better.
And it's not going to be ambiguous about whether or not it's a dream or time travel. Like the producer said, it was exciting that you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
No, 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 no,
No.
no.
Bro, I was
This
so
is
mad.
this is obviously time travel because that's what Bishop does.
All right.
Well, so does Flash. Flash obviously time travels, but they still were
Yeah,
like,
but
eh. Well, in your mind, in this little scenario of a scene that you set up, do you have a particular actor playing Bishop, and you can't say Idris Elba?
no, and I'm sad that we can't be Idris Elba because he is the choice for Bishop, but he was also a goddamn good Heimdall.
Yeah,
He was a great Heimdall, dude. Come on.
that's right.
He was a fantastic Heimdall, but I'm sad that he can't also be Bishop. He can't just be like, "Yes, I know." Like Thor's like, "Wait a minute," and he's like, "Yeah, I know." Yeah.
Yeah. It's big.
He's like, "You think Heimdall spent all his time watching the Bifrost?" No.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I
Just an excuse to get Denzel in, even though it probably doesn't make sense.
I
Oh, that wouldn't be bad.
I would say nah. I don't I don't like that
Any
as much.
reason to put Denzel in your movie? You put Denzel in your movie.
That's true.
You
How about,
find a role for him, dude.
I mean, not nearly a good actor as Denzel Washington, but how about Michael Jai White?
That could be cool.
Yeah.
See, I keep coming to
Wait, I'm hoping I'm thinking of the same.
I keep coming to
I think I am.
actors. I keep coming to actors that have already been in Marvel. Like they've
Well,
already
I
been
mean,
in the MCU, and it's like, Tim, you've already been there. You can't do it again.
well, you
Yeah,
can't.
okay, it is.
They've had a couple people replay stuff, just like Mahershala Ali was in Luke Cage, and now he's gonna be Blade. Like it's possible.
No, but
But
I'm
I feel like
thinking,
Marvel's making an effort to make those TV shows disappear.
This is also true, but they existed. You can't sit there and tell me my
Right,
memories
yeah.
don't happen.
right? Um, like if he wasn't Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan could have been really good
Yeah,
for
no, I was thinking
Bishop.
the same thing too.
Yeah, that's too big of a role for him to come back.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like he's already been in a big role. We can't have him just show up from future Wakanda being like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And then it's like,
So
"Hold on, we killed you. You killed
I
like
don't
my
I
great
don't
uncle."
think this is the role for him, but I think we should get Lakeith Stanfield into the MCU as quick as possible.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Like he is a good actor, and I don't know
He's also like a strange dude. Like generally, he's just very odd. I feel like he could play like a really cool, like not like the lead of a team, but like the guy in the background who gets the great lines and doesn't have to have like the neutral persona. I feel like he would be great. Like if he was a guy who just showed up as like a I don't know, like a background character, like the Hulk has been in like
Oh,
all these other movies, but not getting his own, and he's just like the flavor that gets injected into scenes.
so you're telling
Perfect.
me that if he could do a good Cajun accent, he should be Gambit?
That would be cool as fuck.
Because that's all Gambit does. He's in the background, he says a slick line, and just looks cool all day.
And then he throws a card at you, and you're like, "Oh, dang!" And
Dude,
he's like, "Gotcha!" And then you explode.
that would be so sick. That's an inspired choice. We should stamp of approval. I like this.
Ah,
So getting
But
back
I also think even though it's like crazy with structuring contracts and stuff, I think having background characters like that would be way better. To just like as we were talking about with the back characters before, not necessarily give them a bunch of setup and give us a bunch of exposition, just have them just show up. And it's
yeah,
like, oh, that one guy's here again, and not
now,
know a whole lot.
now that we have two teams, we have the Cosmic Avengers and we have Earth Avengers. I see no problem with other teams popping up, like we've been talking about with like the Thunderbolts showing up.
mhm.
We make the Thunderbolts out of the surviving villains, more or less, so we already know who they are. But then Great Lakes Avengers can roll through and be like, "We're helping," because that's how we get Squirrel Girl, and we need Squirrel Girl if Galactus is going to show up.
Anna Kendrick has already voiced interest in playing Squirrel Girl, and no one else for the MCU.
Yo, I'm
This
here
is
for that. That's fantastic.
But
For
then they did cast her in a show that didn't happen, but it was I forget what her name is, Milani. She's the lady in the AT&T commercials. Do you remember those? Like, I work at the AT&T store.
I think I know who you're talking about. I think she was on Silicon Valley a couple times too.
I think so as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, she was the voice, or no, she was cast as the live
Oh, I
action,
remember this.
yeah,
Yes.
for a New Warrior show that was supposed to happen but never got off the ground.
is there,
Crazy stuff.
we're way off from Guardians at this point, but
True.
is there any chance, do you think, that the Runaways would be made MCU canon and just get those kids involved?
I mean, technically the show is canon, but I don't know. I don't know if you ever get to see those particular actors playing those characters in a bigger MCU thing.
It's like they should have shown up in Endgame.
It would. I don't know if they want to get kids involved in a game.
Just should have shown like when everybody was rolling in, like through all the portals. The Runaways should have been there. There's a lot of people that should have gotten a brief cameo. But
However, of all those cast members, like which one do you think is strong enough to show up and like play opposite Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr.?
fair.
Oh no, 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 I'm being serious.
Oh.
Do you think we're actually serious? I'm not. I wasn't trying to put him down. I'm just wondering.
um. No, I have to think on that for a minute.
Who's in the Runaway?
I think the actress that plays Minora or Minori, I think she's really strong.
Yeah.
So, and her character having the tie to Doctor Strange already, I could see her showing up in the next Doctor Strange movie or even the WandaVision show. Like, I think that's possible. Otherwise, I don't know where the other characters might show up. The one that's plays Caroline or Carolina or Carolina, she being an alien from outer space.
So the group Starfire.
Yeah, she could. Yeah, exactly. She could show up in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That'd be interesting too.
Yeah, like because they're kind of setting up the Guardians to be kind of a revolving door of space people.
Which you kind of have to do, because after the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie, whose contract is still going to be viable, right? Like, who's still going to be around?
I think
Thor.
that's the big problem too, is like we get to see how everything's made enough that we're not asking who would be cool to stick around. We're asking, all right, who actually can? And I
Mhm.
think that kind of kills half the fun of speculating, because it's like, well, this guy's immediately gone because I know he has 0 movies on his deal. So like that idea is gone and it sucks.
However, after Thor Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth's revitalized himself in the franchise and signs on for another set of movies. He's going to do another Thor movie, and he's going to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like,
I'm nervous for another standalone Thor movie. Ragnarok proved that you can do it and it can be fun. It's not just this like crap we have to sit through some Thor. But I'm
I
nervous.
I know, but I think that the fresh storyline it's not going to be Thor's storyline anymore. It's not going to be Chris Hemsworth Thor's storyline anymore. It's going to be Jane Foster's story, right? So it's coming at it a completely different way of who is this normal, average everyday person who gets the power of Thor and how that affects them, as opposed to a person who is already a god.
Fair. Which, by the way, I think I need to throw this in here. I'm really excited for Jane Foster Thor. I cannot wait.
I'm just
And
happy they're not wasting Natalie Portman anymore.
right,
True.
and here comes the most important question of this entire episode. Malfoy, if you had to recast anyone in Guardians of the Galaxy as Tom Cruise, like put Tom Cruise in Guardians of the Galaxy, who would you have cast him as? And it can't be Star
Andy.
Lord.
It can't be.
That's too obvious.
All right. Hear me out. It's going to be a
Chambers
layered
says
answer.
Groot.
But it's going to be, so it's him playing fuck, why did I just blank on his, I think it's right. Him playing Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder as Drax.
Oh, that is very layered.
So every time that he's like, I would catch it, like my reflexes are too fast. It's like him as Lex saying that seriously, because he doesn't take anyone's shit.
I mean, I love that answer, and my answer pales to it now. But I was thinking, I mean, Tom Cruise fits into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 as Ronan, like Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah, that was my second answer.
Yeah.
My choices, I have two. I would have cast him as Yondu,
Okay.
or I would have cast him as the Collector.
Oh, he would have done something really cool as the Collector. Because
Mhm.
think about how Benicio del Toro took that character and just went super eclectic with it, just
Like,
totally
super.
off out of the box with it. And I think if you would have told Tom Cruise to do the same, you would have got a combination of Les Grossman and Stacey Jacks kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
it
for sure, dude.
would have been
And
off the wall.
it would have been really cool to see him as the Collector, though. If health concerns hadn't been an issue, Bowie would have been the ideal Collector.
I did not know that. Oh wait, are you saying that he was going to be it, or
No,
you're
I'm
just
saying that he was that was towards the end of his life, and he was already having all those health issues.
Okay.
So I don't think it would have been possible for him to do it, but he would have been the perfect
cool.
Collector.
Mm-hmm.
Just make him the Goblin King in space.
Essentially, that's
Yeah.
And we get a reason to see him in tight space pants, and that's fantastic.
With giant codpiece.
Space.
so in that moment where he says Karina, he's like pelvic thrusting at the same time.
Okay, so we usually go through the cast, the cast of characters in the movie, and see where we could possibly see them in the future. Like, we obviously know all these characters are coming back for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Minus Yondu.
Minus Yondu.
Spoilers.
This is correct. But other than in the Guardians movies, do you see these characters in the larger Avengers sort of overarching storyline? Do you see them showing up anywhere. Any one of them.
I think Rocket is going to spend more time on Earth
That's interesting. Like,
because
do you see him interacting with other raccoons and being like, "What the fuck?"
probably, but I think he fits in with the technology forward thinking of Wakanda, and I think he fits in really well with Bucky
Because he wants that arm.
because he wants that arm, and like they very easily could have Han Solo Chewbacca kind of thing, like, hey, let me shoot that real quick.
Okay.
Like I
All
think
right.
I think that's the buddy cop movie we didn't know we needed.
I'm
I
there.
think that's not bad. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
because
they're
I agree. I think he is the bridge of sorts between the universes.
If
yeah. I
if
mean,
anybody's gonna reach out, it's gonna be him. Quill's too like I'm better than everybody. Like
yeah. I don't like Earth, even though I like all the pop culture from Earth.
yeah, Earth sucks because my mom died here, and I'm sad about it. Like
Yeah, I feel like Star Lord coming back to Earth for any sort of character development would be more of like a hurdle than it would be anything, or like it would be such a like a tar trap of like, all right, we have to deal with this because obviously he would pay attention to all of this stuff. Like we can't just act like he would just gloss over pop culture. Like this is his thing. Of course he would pay attention to it.
it would
So
be
I
then
would
Star
it's not
Lord, the
really.
meme movie.
I almost feel
Yeah,
like he would like have to seclude himself for like a week or a couple weeks just to watch all the things and listen to all the songs and be like, okay, I need to catch up, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Unless you get
or
Apple iTunes in outer space, I don't know.
yeah. It- yeah, I don't know. That feels strange. And I also feel like based off where they left in Endgame, all those characters are leaving Earth for a while, if not forever at this point. Like I don't know that any of them have anything currently that would tie them to coming back. Um unless Gamora stayed on Earth afterwards, which I mean that would feel like a red herring.
That's true.
Um
The whole idea is that they needed to go find this new Gamora, right? So that he can essentially make her fall in love with him again.
yeah. Or to make up for the Gamora that died, to make up for whatever they lost in that process.
Yeah.
Um but I think obviously there's two more movies with Thor because there's a Guardians where he's with the Guardians at where we leave them, and then Thor is his name, so of course he's going to be in it.
Right.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I think Rocket will probably stick around for at least the initial transition for the what am I trying to say here? Thor getting back to the Asgardians. Until that happens, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy will not come back to Earth.
And we kind of in game we see Hulk and Rocket kind of hanging out a lot together. So maybe there's a thing to that too.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
I'm sorry. I,
Yeah,
I
no,
was
I think so
typing.
too. Because
What was that?
I think I don't see Hulk going away anytime soon because I
No.
think him having that bounce around spot that I was talking about
Mhm.
works so well in every. I don't think there's been a time where Hulk's shown up in a movie and people were like, "Yeah, it didn't work." I think for the most part, everyone's like, "Yeah, the Hulk is great at what he is," except for when we give him his own movie, we're not really that big about it.
Because he works great in small doses. You don't need all the angst that comes with a Hulk movie. Like, oh, I hate
Yeah,
the fact that I'm a monster and I destroy things.
and especially now that we've had like Hulk Banner,
Right.
he's just like, oh hey, I'm here, and I get to just be goofy Mark Ruffalo, and I don't have to really do anything else except pose for awkward Hulk selfies.
Either it all works or none of it works. It's good. uh,
um,
I see this as a
so
huge success.
Bruce, so bring up Banner. I had a question. Because now that we've talked about Rocket, I think he fits the suggestion that I was going to make of the Fantastic Four being the bridge between Earth and the Guardians of the Galaxy, the cosmic stuff.
mhm.
Mainly have them show up as background characters, I guess. Again, with the contracts and stuff, it's hard to get people for background characters because it's kind of a
Right.
waste of a film slot. But I had this idea of having Sue Storm show up in a movie, and then the Baxter Building gets built, and then Reed Richards gets established in a movie, and then all these other characters, and then we have this space station or something built as a literal bridge from Earth to the cosmos, and then something happens, and then you get the event that would make the Fantastic Four. But we knew them before they were the Fantastic Four, so that event has weight to it.
I think
Um,
I think that's a great idea, and I kind of feel like that's what they've been doing with the Spider-Man movies. Like in Spider-Man: Homecoming, someone buys the Stark Tower, right, or Avengers Tower. To me, that's the Fantastic Four buying the Baxter, making their new Baxter Building. The second movie,
right.
second Spider-Man movie, hey, look, we have something coming. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep watch out for it. It's leading to it. But I love your idea of, you know, Peter in the next, next Spider-Man movie says, "Oh, you know what? There's this new guy in the science circuit that's doing all this crazy stuff, and I really want to go see his symposium or his lecture or whatever, his TED talk." And
He's
he
it's a
keeps
new
trying to get Reed Richards' TED talk.
it's a new guy in science, and he's doing science because
Sorry.
that's
Okay, so the Bruce Banner thing that I was going to ask was Reed Richards is considered one of, if not the smartest guy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we have him exist at Bruce Banner's age, so that way Bruce is a peer, or do we have him as a younger age as Peter's as a peer,
put him in
so
the
that way
middle.
he hasn't been around for essentially what would be a situation that would have called for Reed Richards if he existed at this point.
Put him in the middle. That way we have the full spectrum of smart. We have young Spider-Man. We have like late 20s Reed Richards. We have like kind of middle-aged Bruce Banner, and then we have old guy Hank Pym.
Yeah,
That works.
And then
Yeah.
everybody gets together, and we get Hank Pym being like, "Well, back when I was doing science," and Spider-Man being like, "Catchphrase."
I think the way to kind of solve, and it's kind of it's a terrible cop out, Alex, but I think one of the ways you could do it is that you have Reed Richards be a peer to Hank Pym back in the 60s and 70s. Something happens in that time where he gets stuck outside of time and then comes back, and now he's the age that Ian explained. So he is super
interesting.
smart, and then this also is a reason why he was not involved in all the Avengers events.
We could do that with the whole team.
Yeah, you could. It could
Well,
be
I mean, now that time travel has established,
ooh,
yeah, we could do whatever.
yeah,
And like with the whole microverse or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Um,
so that I was gonna bring that up too, was because I remember seeing like an Easter egg or something in the like small dimension. There's like a city in the background or something, and people were suggesting that it could be like Doctor Doom's hiding there or something. I don't really like that idea. Um, but playing with your idea of we cheat and we have Reed Richard be from the '60s like he is in the comic, and then somehow have time distortion. Maybe he's in that city and he's been researching there the whole time.
yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
know.
mean, I think I brought this up before in Ant-Man and the Wasp when they're in the quantum verse. They definitely show you all the different elements, like the four elements that make up the Fantastic Four, and they do it prominently. There is a way of explaining that the Fantastic Four have been stuck in the quantum verse since the 60s.
yeah,
That would be kind of interesting, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
they were also like gathering Pym particles at the end of Ant-Man 2, like Ant-Man and the Wasp. So just like, oh no, Pym particles got in your DNA or whatever, however that works, man. Now you got weird powers. I'm
Yeah, you
sorry.
got powers. You're absolutely right.
And then we
So,
get another Fantastic Four origin movie.
I mean,
So
it's
so that's why I wanted to do my idea to where like the event happens, but we're not there for it. Like we
yeah,
understand the graph, like we know, like we have it established that the Fantastic Four or Sue, Reed, Johnny, and Ben are all up there doing various things, and then some sort of like natural disaster or some sort of event set on by a villain of some sort, maybe Galactus, maybe Silver Surfer, maybe someone else, that happens and we see it from afar from another person's perspective, like another hero, maybe like an Earth hero, and then later like the people who know that the Fantastic Four there are going to be like, oh shit, that's the thing, but other people won't, and then later it'll pay off.
yeah. I love your idea because we don't need another Fantastic Four origin story. We just don't. We don't need it. We don't want it.
I don't want it. I don't.
But it's
And then
I
also it's not like their powers are super convoluted. Like if I see Mr. Fantastic, I'm like, I get it. I
He
know what he's doing.
stretches.
I don't need to like some create like Spider-Man. How does he get his powers? All right, we can spend some time with that. There's some stuff going on. There's some DNA. Like I guess there's DNA too, but like visually he stretches. I get it.
You can line them up and go, you turn invisible, you get like invisibility, stretching, you're on fire, rocks. Like his power is rocks. That's it.
I don't know. I just feel like Fantastic Four as a franchise is optimism, and I don't feel like there's enough optimism in films right now, let alone superhero movies. So I just need them right now.
And honestly, I think that if anything, you're instead of getting a movie, you're going to get a TV show. Like the Fantastic Four is going to be
That's
a
fair.
on Disney Plus before it's a movie.
I'm really excited for Fantastic Four and where to find them.
Yeah,
Nice.
I got that.
I get that reference.
Or maybe they I mean, because it seems like they're doing a lot with Disney Plus in terms of the Avengers that maybe weren't the most popular, but they still are essential, giving them stories that will then set up future events. I think they're what they tried to do originally with Netflix. They're like, well, we have our own streaming service now, so we're going to do that, but also we're going to care about it this time.
Yeah,
So maybe they be background characters in those shows, you know?
I could see that happening completely.
Reed Richards builds the new flight suit for Falcon.
Maybe.
That's a terrible pitch. Don't do that. That's a terrible pitch. If you're listening, don't do that. I have better ideas. You can hit me on Twitter. We can talk.
Wouldn't that be more of a Johnny thing? Isn't he more of a?
Because he was more of a builder and
or
like
just
making
like the
cool
aerospace
things.
engineer guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his whole thing was to be a hotshot astronaut kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap it up, I just want to one thing I really want to talk about is James Gunn. Like this is the first time in the MCU that they decide we're going to try out a not so proven director yet. Like he's done some things and they've all been very much out there and they're different, but let's give him a try cuz like you said Ian, you said you don't really know these other movies, right? In
Yeah,
2010 he did Super, which was Rainn Wilson acting like a Batman-esque character in a real world setting. You know, he's kind of off his rocker, he uses a wrench and he just beats the crap out of people.
I'm here for this.
Slither was the movie that Alex mentioned, where a space alien comes in and it does the classic it came from outer space trope of entering this small town. People are getting body snatched, so to speak, and it's got Nathan Fillion in it. Who doesn't love Nathan Fillion?
Exactly.
I'm here for
And
that.
then before that, he was working on Tromaville films. Like he did Kabuki Man and Toxic Avenger stuff. Like it's the reason why Lloyd, what the head of Troma shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy because he's the guy who gives James Gunn his first break. So after this is when we start seeing Marvel do that with the other movies. Ryan Coogler comes in with not that many movies, awesome movies, but not movies under his belt to do a fantastic Black Panther movie. You know,
Right.
the duo that made Captain Marvel, they did a movie called Half Nelson with Ryan Gosling.
They did Half Nelson.
Yeah,
that movie is incredible. Holy crap!
Real quick, Pep just said in chat here, just God, Super was awful.
I have not seen Super, so I can't speak to that.
It's very much it's doing what The Boys does now. It's doing what the Umbrella. It's deconstructing the superhero like trope kind of thing.
Okay.
It's showing how when your fantasy life gets way too out of hand, what happens, and it's not a great movie, but it's still interesting.
I'm here for that.
Yeah,
I'm here for that.
You tell Pep to keep it in the peanut gallery.
Yeah, what he said, Pep. Mitch will fight you, dude.
But yeah, so let's. I really at this point I feel like because the Avengers has already happened in 2012, they feel like they can take gambles, and it's okay, which is awesome.
Yeah, I wish they had come to that conclusion sooner. I mean, I didn't finish the first Ant-Man. From what I watched, I liked it.
Mhm.
I wasn't like upset or anything by that. But I mean, very obviously, Edgar Wright would have done a better job.
Yeah,
And I think if they had just let him make that movie,
it would have
like
been.
really, how much could you have not fit in after the fact based off his movie? Like that movie wasn't that specific. It was just more so we need these characters
Yeah.
from what I saw.
It
So
was
like you tell me he
superhero
couldn't have done
heist
that with
movie.
his idea? Like
Yeah, I don't know why it just kept getting pushed back. I mean, that was on there way before Iron Man. Like it was around, and they had been just kept pushing the movie back. But honestly, I like the Ant-Man movie, so I like and I can't even think what the director's name is that ended up doing the movie. But you also get Scott Derrickson doing Doctor Strange.
yeah.
Like this is a guy who comes from horror movies, and he's making this psychedelic like Doctor Strange movie, which goes into a whole nother realm, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we get to talk about Doctor Strange because that movie put me on edge for like half of it. It felt like.
Love that
and
movie.
so do I. And with that all being said, what we usually try and talk about is where they go in the next phase. If I understand correctly, James Gunn was supposed to be the architect for the next phase, the next couple phases. Uh, and then we have the terrible mistake of Disney going and firing him, right? Taking him out of
Yeah.
the equation. And all of his storylines that were going to be coming for the next couple phases go away. They have to restructure, and then eventually, after he gets hired to do Suicide Squad over at DC, they're like, okay, maybe we jumped the gun. Let's go ahead and hire him back to do
Nice.
to do volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. But does his storyline still exist that he was architecting for the rest of Phase 4 and Phase 5? Is the big question.
I think yes.
Really?
I think that you like for what he did with Guardians and Volume 2, he did a really good job for as much as I'm not such a fan of Volume 2. But you give that guy the resources and the time and he's going to weave you a beautiful story full of all kinds of stuff. And they left the end of Endgame pretty ambiguous for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. But that also brings into account like when they fired James Gunn, Dave Bautista said he was done. He didn't want to
Yeah.
do any more Disney Marvel movies. But James Gunn is coming back. Does that mean Dave Bautista re-signed his contract? Is he still going to be around as Drax?
I hope so, because as much as Drax as a character drives me insane, I find him to be like the Jar Jar Binks of Guardians.
Mm,
Like of the MCU, Drax is the one that grinds my gears the most. He's just I don't know.
that's fair.
Um
I feel like because he's the same joke over and over again.
He is
yeah,
you're
he's
right.
just everything is literal and he's the best though he's obviously the worst at everything. Like it's just I got it the first time. You know what I mean?
But the
I,
problem is that's his character. Like you can't if you didn't do that, you get complaints for not being true to the character. It's a
yeah,
damned if
but
you do, damned if you don't.
he's the whole thing of like his race is super literal. They don't get metaphors. You can learn what a metaphor is. You can learn how that works. So
Hey,
you're
Yeah.
telling me that y'all been flying around in space talking to nothing but each other because there ain't nobody else to talk to, and he still doesn't get it.
you want to talk about how stubborn adults are? We have people that refuse to wear masks in this
I
country.
mean,
Facts.
true.
So
Okay,
there
so looking at the Phase 4 lineup, a lot of it looks very so it's Eternals, Shang-Chi, Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision. Like this a lot of this has a very mystic vibe to it, not so much
space.
like spacey. So if he was going to be the orchestrator for Phase 4, Phase 5, maybe Phase 5 because I can't see anything with Phase 5 on here. But for Phase 4 specifically, it feels weird that he would be if he was actually going to be the architect for that because this all feels very disconnected from the stuff he was connected to.
Right.
But the later like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 obviously that got pushed. It's not on the Phase 4 that I'm looking at currently. So if that's the beginning of Phase 5 and he gets Phase 5, then yeah, I mean, there's a whole mess of stuff they could do.
Yeah.
So I honestly hadn't put it together that Phase 4 was like hyper mystic. I don't know how I didn't put that together. I just kind of looked at the titles and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like that's rad."
Eternals kind of goes both ways of being mystic and outer space because they are in relation to the celestials. Like, so they have ties to outer space and they definitely have ties to the mystic. So I think with the Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, that's also kind of both mystic and extraterrestrial because it's multiverse. So it's a possibility, like where these things are going to land.
So then my question is, obviously I've been looking really hard at like the cosmic side because that's where we get all of our like massive big bads, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from the mystic side, if that's where we're going before we go back to space, like who comes out of the mystic side? Like as far as the for like the front runners for intimidating bad guys.
I still throw out Doctor Doom. Like he's both mystic
Yeah.
and science, and I think that'd be a formidable bad guy for both. You could
Okay.
still bring back Dormammu from Doctor Strange because
He
he didn't
exists in all
kill him.
time.
And
And he just exists in all time, always, forever.
yeah. So those are some big ones. If you want to do Mephisto, that could be interesting too. Like that's a way to bring in the Ghost Rider. You know, all kinds of different stuff.
Ooh. And
Yeah, we get Nicolas Cage back.
honestly, you know what? I'm here for it.
I am way down for that, dude.
I'm here for that.
You know what I've heard?
Get
Bring
James Gunn to write it too.
Ooh,
yeah.
I'm on for that. Like bring Nicolas Cage back for Johnny Blaze, and then what was it? Norman Reedus as Danny Ketch, the second Ghost Rider. Like
Yeah.
that's what I've heard. Like that's a great combo
That
there.
would be bad.
And
That would
you
be
know
bad as
what?
fuck. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I'm here for it because like as cheesy as the Ghost Rider movies were, they were fun.
Just
yeah,
like
and I think that should be the only bar to measure to.
Exactly.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
I did.
And like again, for how cheesy they were, he was like Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage. Nick Cage was good in that role. So you keep those canon. You're just like, I don't know, like he's been the Ghost Rider for a while, and then you just have him in that first movie pass the torch to Norman Reedus. And you're like,
I
boom.
don't even think you need to pay attention to it. I think the theme of my stance for all these movies should be we don't need to talk about the back stuff. Just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Lionsgate might have some issue with you.
Nah.
Referring back to the other movies. Plus,
Get him out of here.
Alba is in the second Ghost Rider movie, so
He was what?
Idris Alba was in the second Ghost Rider movie, so we don't want to bring that up.
Fine. Okay, Pep is using highlighted messages here to make sure I see this. He wants Cage for Cosmic Ghost Rider.
To play Punisher? Like to play Frank Castle as the Cosmic Ghost Rider?
He says, I want Cage for Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's ready for it.
I mean, John Bernthal could stick around if it has to be Frank Castle.
I mean, I'm all for John Bernthal's Frank Castle. Like that, he was
great.
Yeah.
I wasn't such a fan of the standalone Punisher show, but I
didn't watch it.
I loved Daredevil.
The second season of the Punisher show was a lot better than the first season, but I liked the first season too.
The first season was just so slow.
It was.
And
they were trying to do a whole thing, and they just decided in the second one, let's go a little bit more comic book with it. And I was okay.
I just wanted to see him beat people up. That's all I cared about.
That's all you see in the second season. So
good.
Just go
good. Pep says yes to Nick Cage being Frank Castle because he's like just says not kooky enough. Those are the answers.
That is exactly what Cosmic Ghost Rider is. He's super, like, people thought it was going to be Deadpool when they pulled off the mask, and because of the way he acts, so it makes sense.
Not the Cosmic Beast.
So what's up with Deadpool? Where does he sit in all of this? Because he's Fox property, right?
He got picked up.
Ryan Reynolds has been pushing hard to get him into the MCU as of late. Rob Liefeld's been going on the internet and being like, Disney's never going to make a Deadpool movie. It's like, so Disney, if anything, Disney knows they like to make money. So when it comes to it, they're going to be like, let's make that Deadpool movie.
here you go, Disney. This is how you use Deadpool. Are you listening? I'm looking at the wrong camera. This camera. Are you listening? Stan Lee has passed.
I was just gonna say the same thing,
You
bro.
put Deadpool in where Stan Lee would be, and you dress him up like Stan Lee in all of those spots, so that he gets to be the stand-in because he's the one that
Yes.
can be everywhere because he's been in everything with everyone, and he's just there for a minute to go, oh wow, catchy one-liner that's probably a little racy, and then you move on. That's
Do
all
you?
you need to do with Deadpool now.
I mean, do you pay Ryan Reynolds for
Yes.
that just
You
to
could
come on?
probably
So
talk him into doing
here's
it for free.
yeah. So this is the thing. I think Ryan Reynolds is smart enough, and also I don't think he needs the money enough right now that he could probably do a couple cameos, and then once Marvel catches on to holy shit, everybody loves this guy, he knows he'll get a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're absolutely right.
And as much as Deadpool drives me insane and I am beyond just done with the character at this point, it sells.
It does sell.
People like it.
I love Deadpool.
I'm all for it. I like Ryan Reynolds' interpretation of Deadpool. So,
like the first Deadpool movie was a lot of fun.
mm-hmm.
I'm in the spot with Deadpool of like, yeah, that was fun. I liked it. And then you have like the Rick and Morty fan base of Deadpool that's just like, it's the best thing, and if you don't like it, you're wrong. And
But that's everything. You can't base it off that.
Yeah, you can't base anything off of fanboys, reactions. It's just
I mean,
you have to throw that out with the bathwater.
you're right, but it's just that it's frustrating and annoying.
I'm sure there's a gatekeeper for local broadcast television. All right,
Yeah, it's Mitch.
it's everywhere. Just
Yeah.
let it.
It's Mitch.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Alex, where can people find you online?
If you wanted to find me, I'm on Twitter, Alex L Lusardi. It's my last name. And that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else.
I feel lied to. I thought it was Malfoy this whole time. No.
Well, so obviously that's taken, unfortunately, and I was not able to get it back.
Okay.
And, I mean, his bio does say the resident Slytherin, so
It does.
yeah.
And Ian, where can people find you online?
Hi, if you're here with us right now, you know where to find me,
Oh,
twitch.tv/IanFlux, and you've been here the whole time, and we've had fun. I've been watching you in chat. I swear, I've been reading chat this whole time, and y'all are hysterical.
Was there anything that we should have been pulling out?
Not so much. It was mostly just like, well, what about Human Torch? And what about... It was mostly Bruce going...
Chris Evans played Human Torch, Captain America. We gotta address it every time.
We have to address it every time. He's also Captain America got beat by Scott Pilgrim, but anyway.
Yep.
You can
Never
find
forget.
me. You can find me on Twitter because that's what we're doing right now. Hi, you can find me on Twitter at IanFlux12, IanFlux12. Holler at me.
There you go. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Mitchipedia, GEM. GEM stands for Geek Elite Media. The rest of Geek Elite Media is on Twitter at Geek Elite Media, at Geek Elite Media on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Geek Elite Media is our Facebook page. Guess what? We also started up a Patreon. So go to our Patreon page and get involved in one of our tiers, if that's how this whole thing works. I'm not sure. Also, check out our website, geekelitemedia.com, for archived episodes of this podcast and other podcasts on our network. Please rate and review this podcast and Ian's Twitch channel, if that's how that works.
I don't think it is, but you can follow
so that you can help spread the word of our podcast network. But until next time, Alex, do you know this part?
Do you know how this part works?
Do you know how this works?
I did, and then now I'm on the spot, and I'm not sure. You should remind me anyway.
So after I say always remember to, just say geek out with us.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You don't have to say the with us part. Just say geek out.
Okay.
Okay.
I got it.
Until next time, this is Journey into Mystery saying always remember to
geek
out.
Oh, I jumped the gun. I jumped the gun, guys.
Nah.
I tried to. I knew there was going to be some level of delay. I tried to. Didn't work.
No, that's how I always try and do it too. I always try and compensate for the delay.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun, guys. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
that was
that.
fun.
Yes, thank you.